Hello, my name is Kanika Singleton. We today are going to be going over some choreographic tips and tricks from the Divine Choreography Tips and Tricks DVD by Lynn Hayden. This talk today, we're going to talk about some things that can really enhance and give some very simple ways to create excitement and depth in your dance ministry presentations. Today's the simple ones. We're going to talk about symmetry and asymmetry. So first, let's kind of define those. Symmetry is going to be a division down a central plane, and we want to create a copy or mirror image on one side as we have on the other. That is symmetry. We can see that in ourselves. We can see that in the clothing that we buy, clothing that we wear. There's going to be symmetry to legs, to arms, etc. Asymmetry is we're looking for something that is going to be nearly opposite or nothing like the other. There may be way more on this side of the plane than there is on the right side of the plane. So we have to look at it in totality and see that it is very different. We want the lack of symmetry to create asymmetry. What scripture came to mind when I was looking at symmetry was Revelations 21:16. It states, "The city was laid out like a square, as long as it was wide. He measured the city with the rod and found it to be 12,000 stadia in length, and wide and as high as it is long." So you can see there that the Lord created symmetry in the city to make it look like a perfect square. And our dance pieces, when in symmetry, of course, not all the time, but when in symmetry, we can create pieces that add beauty and are pleasing to the eye with the symmetry. Let me give you some examples of symmetry as related to pose or position. You can see here that divided down the center plane, both arms create a mirror image of one another. That creates symmetry. Again, both arms and now legs create a divide down the center line and a mirror image of the other. This creates symmetry. And those are in pose or design or still pose. When we're looking at pattern, just consider I have a duet and both run forward, creating a big, large circle around, and now that is a symmetrical pattern. If we're looking at two people creating or three people, we can give three people creating a symmetrical pattern. One can stand straight in the center with arms up, and the other two can face one another in opposite poses, one in this direction and the other in this direction. Now creating, you'll just have to use your imaginoscope to make that work for three people in a symmetrical pose. So now we're going to contrast that a bit and create asymmetry. I don't have the specific scripture in mind, but in Romans, Paul talked about how Adam, a man, brought sin and created death in the world because sin then leads to death. Whereas Jesus, a man but fully God, brought salvation because he gave us the redemption from sin and brought life. And so there now we have a center plane being man, and we have death, and we have life. They're opposites, or they are lack of symmetry. And so now we're going to create that same thing in poses. So the first, I will have my left arm in an L shape and my right arm in an L shape but down. This creates asymmetry. I can add in legs and turn one this way to the left, or to the right, excuse me, and one also facing to the right. And now we have ongoing asymmetry. And that just creates like a center line. And now there's way more of me on the left side than there is on the right. That's asymmetrical. So now let's think about a three-person group creating asymmetry. Let's say they're all lined here in a row. The first person runs forward, and that is going to be the first part. Let's say the second person will run in a diagonal line to the left. And now the third person creates a circular pattern to the right. And now that is a pattern that creates asymmetry, but now adds depth and beauty to your piece when you're using both symmetry and asymmetry in both pose and pattern.